If you have ever been interested or heard of the 8 Sleep, this video is for you. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing an in-depth review of the Hydrosnooze and the ChiliPad Pro by SleepMe sleep bed cooling systems. If you don't know what any of these are mattress toppers that use water to either heat or cool your bed so that way you're more comfortable throughout the night. The Hydrosnooze is new and I have not been able to find any videos on it, and it runs about $600 on sale for a queen. The ChiliPad Pro has been around for a longer time and it's about $1,500 for a queen. This video is not sponsored, but I could not find any reviews like this, so I figured I would go ahead and make one. To give a little bit of background, I live in Texas. I live with my partner. We are both men and we both run hot. And for anybody in Texas, this summer is a really difficult time for sleep. Your walls are hot, your floors are hot, your internal body's hot, and I like to be cozy. I want to actually be under a blanket when I sleep. It's how I sleep best. So running the AC is my only option right now. And running the AC is not a great option because I get really dry and I get eye infections and throat infections, especially when I'm running the AC all the time. So today we're here to find out if a bed cooling heating system can be comfortable, makes a big enough difference, and is worth the expense. If you're interested, stick around and let's get started. I finally got this take right. Okay, so let's start at the basics. It's 8 Sleep. If you are watching this video, you have heard of this company. They are like the Apple of bed cooling systems. Their entire system is very streamlined, but it is very expensive. An 8 Sleep cover with a pod that changes the water temperature runs you from about $2,000 to $4,000 just for the system. So that system's already very expensive, but now 8 Sleep requires you to pay for a $200 a year subscription. $200 a year for a mattress topper is insanity, but it gets crazier because they also offer a $300 a year subscription that includes a warranty for anything that might happen to the system, which doesn't inspire much confidence in me as a consumer that a warranty is so expensive and seems to be required. So right off the bat, I was completely out. The 8 Sleep was not an option. It was way too expensive to start, and I'm not going to be paying for a subscription for a mattress topper for the rest of my life. So then I was at a conference and my coworker told me about ChiliPad. Now I had done research on like bed cooling systems before, but I never really found anything that I thought was a good deal. Then the ChiliPad came into my life. ChiliPad is made by a company called SleepMe, and it was a company that was bought a couple of years ago, so a few things have changed. They offer the same thing that 8 Sleep offers, but in a different configuration for a much lower price. Instead of having one unit that attaches to your mattress pad, you have two to control two sides individually, and there's no subscription required. It comes with an app, it connects to the internet, or you don't have to use the internet if you don't want to. And for a queen, the entire thing's about $1,500. So if you're like me, this piqued my interest because I, of course, want to do a review for you guys, and I just want to sleep a bit cooler. But while I was researching the ChiliPad Pro, I found a new company called Hydrosnooze. Now, I could not find anything about this company besides one Reddit with a couple of good reviews. So I figured I would make this review for you guys so that way you know the difference between the three tiers and which one's worth it. Lost my shoe. The Hydrosnooze is $650 for a queen. The biggest difference is that it only controls the entire bed. It is not a dual zone system like the 8 Sleep and like the ChiliPad Pro are. So with all of this in mind, let's get into using the two different systems. Okay, so I'm gonna keep this straight up. With the Hydrosnooze, we'll start there. And the moral of the story is you get what you pay for. There's a couple of ways that this shows up. So the very first one is the bed is one zone. There's not two zones. So you and your partner better agree on what the temperature is. The Hydrosnooze does cool and it does heat, but it only uses one pod system for the entire bed, which is going to basically equate to reduced performance. The mat that goes on top of the bed just sits on top of the bed. There's nothing to secure it to your mattress. And the connector point is on the side of the pad, which is inconvenient for two reasons. The first one is that it's really hard to hide the connection when you put a sheet on. When you have a fitted sheet, it's going to stick out the side. So if your bed's in the middle of the room, it's going to be really obvious. The second one is when the water comes in from one side, the other side of the mattress is not going to get nearly as warm or nearly as cool, which I found in my testing. A small cost-cutting move is that you also have to connect all of the pieces yourself when you set up the system. So when you connect the two water tubes to the main pod controlling unit, you actually have to like fit the plastic around the ports, and it was really difficult to do and it took me a long time, and I was worried that it was going to come loose at some moment. The Hydrosnooze does not come with an app or the ability to connect to Wi-Fi, which some might see as a benefit, but it does come with this remote remote. And the remote is really basic, but it is helpful because otherwise you have to get underneath your bed or underneath your nightstand to control the unit. Side note about this remote, I didn't know what some of these buttons did and it wasn't in the included manual. So the company had to send me a different manual that I don't think had uploaded to their website yet. The Hydrosnooze lets you set 1 heating level or 3 cooling levels of power. Within those levels, you can set a specific temperature and the system will work to get the water to that desired temperature. The only difference I could tell between the 3 cooling levels was the amount of fan noise and how hard the system was working. I think that if your water was at 70 degrees and you set it to 60, at level 1, it's going to take longer than at level 3, basically. At the 3rd level of cooling, the system doesn't run very loud. It just sounds like a small fan. And for me, I put it underneath my nightstand, so it was noticeable, but it wasn't exactly disruptive. My issue with the Hydrosnooze is you get what you pay for. The entire pad is pretty thin and it has 2 sides. We flipped it to the white side, which exposes the tubes that run through the mattress pad to our bodies, so that way we could feel a bigger difference. Even then, we could feel the tubes really prominently and the cooling power was not that great. And another issue with the side connector is when water's coming in from the side of the pad, it will hit the first warm body and absorb some of that heat. So by the time the water makes its way to the second person on the other side of the pad, you don't really notice much of a difference. And this was running it at full cold at like 60 degrees all night. Also, I'm pretty sure that the tubes were getting crushed under our body weight. So in general with the Hydrosnooze, I don't think it's worth the investment, even though it is the cheapest option in the entire industry. I think that if you live alone, it will probably be worth it because it has less work to do. Or if you mainly want a heating element, then I would probably look at it for that. Even then, you could probably just get an electric blanket for like $40. And if you live in a cold place, that's probably best for you. So then the ChiliPad Pro showed up at my door and I set it up on our bed. And don't get me wrong, I want this one to work because otherwise we don't have an option because I'm not gonna pay for an 8 sleep. So right off the bat, the ChiliPad Pro for the Wii system, which is a queen mattress with 2 individual zones, is about $1,500 and immediately you can tell the difference in price. The whole system connects to Wi-Fi so you can control it from your phone. You can also use the controls on the panel themselves. And the entire setup process was a lot more seamless. You are able to remove the water tank if you need to fill it up instead of having to pour water directly into the system like with the Hydrosnooze. And all of the connection points click into place really seamlessly. It gave me a level of confidence that I did not have with the Hydrosnooze that there wouldn't be a leak. When you go to set up the ChiliPad Pro, the pad that it comes with, like I mentioned before, has 2 zones. It fits like a fitted sheet over your mattress, so that way there's a bit more of a secure fit and it won't move around and bunch up as much. And inside of the pad is not traditional tubes. It is a diamond-shaped grid that does a much better job of distributing the water evenly across the bed, and you don't feel it nearly as much as you do with the Hydrosnooze tube system. That being said, I asked my partner and he still feels like we're lightly sleeping on like a plastic sheet because you can feel the plastic underneath the sheet. When I lay down in the bed, it is not noticeable and it doesn't really make a lot of noise, but it's not like soft fabric feeling. Another benefit of the ChiliPad Pro is that the connection points are at the top, or you can flip them and they're at the bottom of the center of the pad. So at least for us, when I set it up on our bed, I was able to connect the 2 pieces and then lay everything flat behind our headboard, so that way it wasn't disrupting the look of our bedroom and the water wasn't getting trapped on one side of the mattress pad. If Hydrosnooze changes anything, just change the connection point of the pad, because if the connection point was at the top, I think it might have worked a lot better. The pods themselves, I feel like, are much higher quality. They do make noise at night, and it's a very interesting noise. The Hydrosnooze is like a fan. These are more like a white noise machine that I actually really enjoy, and the entire build quality is just better. They feel more sturdy, there's more interchangeable parts, and from what I've read online, the new SleepMe company that owns the ChiliPad Pro is much better at responding to customer requests and any potential fixes that might need to happen. Also, if you don't want to have Wi-Fi on the ChiliPad Pro, you can put it into airplane mode and control the system from the controls on the actual docks themselves. I also think that they might be coming out with a remote at some point. So let's get into what it actually felt like to sleep on the ChiliPad Pro. First up, the entire system works so much better. I was like, cold. It is noticeable very quickly. The temperature changes almost instantly, and you can just tell that there is a difference in your mattress pad compared to the Hydrosnooze where I was questioning it. And actually at one point I had to raise the temperature of the ChiliPad Pro from like 65 degrees to 75 because it was too cold. And I will say with any of these systems, but especially the ChiliPad Pro, you really notice a difference when you lay on the bed for a minute. When you touch the pad, you're not gonna notice an immediate coolness. It really is the water removing heat from your body that you feel after the first minute or two, which honestly is a really interesting feeling. It feels like the heat is like being sucked away from you, which feels really nice. And especially if you're a hot sleeper, you will notice the difference like immediately. Me and my partner have both been sleeping on the ChiliPad Pro and we like it a lot more than the Hydrosnooze, and we plan on keeping it for a long time and doing an updated review in the future. I have noticed that when I sleep at night, our house AC, instead of being set at like 70, is now set at 75, or it could be even higher because the bed is cold, and so I'm able to like be under covers even when the house is warm. I'm really curious to see how this all holds up in the summer when everything is hotter, but I have a pretty good feeling. One thing to note with the ChiliPad Pro is that it's a very powerful system. So when the very first night when I was testing it, I had both units set to the lowest temperature to just feel the difference. And what I did not expect is that both of the docks created a large amount of heat, which I could feel coming up the back of our headboard from underneath the bed where the pods actually live. I don't think that this is an issue because we never run our pods that cold, and I don't think we ever will. And at a normal temperature, like anywhere between the 70s, 80s, maybe even upper 60s, the system is really efficient. So I've never noticed really much noise or heat like on just a normal night, which also, it makes a really interesting noise. So I'm gonna actually show you that right now. Okay, so I'm in the bedroom right now, and this is what the system sounds like just running at a normal temperature. And this is what it sounds like from where I sleep. So, as my wrap up, as my verdict, which system is worth it, if any? Well, I think you can see this one coming. I think that the ChiliPad Pro, if you are in the market, is the right buy. The Hydrosnooze, unfortunately, just had to make too many cuts to make the price worth it. And as much as I really wanted it to work, I just don't think they're there quite yet. On the other hand, the ChiliPad Pro is a very powerful, very polished system with an app that does not require a subscription. And that is the biggest takeaway. I think that 8 Sleep needs to change their entire business model because charging $200 a year to adjust your mattress temperature makes no sense. If you are on a budget and you are a single person or you live alone, I do think you can get away with the Hydrosnooze, but the ChiliPad Pro system comes in a Me version, which is one side of the mattress, or a We version, which is both sides of the mattress. So if you ever end up having a partner or moving in with somebody, you could always add the second half of the mattress onto your system, which I think is a really smart move, especially because ChiliPad might come out with different mattress toppers that feel different over time. So instead of having to replace your whole system, you just have to disconnect the mattress topper and replace it with a new one. Oh, I also forgot to mention a huge benefit of the ChiliPad system is that the mattress pad itself is machine washable, which I don't think any other system is, and it's great for the longevity of the entire system because you can keep it as clean as possible. So with all of that in mind, obviously I'm a fan. I have committed to giving you guys an updated review like at the end of the summer or at the end of 6 months, and I will get me and my partner's feedback and we will let you know if we really think that this is worth it. In the meantime, I really don't think you can go wrong, and they have a great return policy. So if you sleep really hot like I do, go ahead and do yourself a favor and see if this system might work for you. With that, if you guys have any questions, of course leave them in the comments. And if you're finding this video in the future, still leave us a comment. I look at the comments on all of my videos, and if there's something that you want to know like months or years from now, I will probably be around to answer your question. And if you stuck around this long, go ahead and subscribe to this video. You obviously don't mind hearing me talk, and I'm here every single week with videos just like this one. With that, I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.